Onision's autobiography reads like the most self-incriminating tales from AITA, and you have to be a special level of jerk devoid of any self-awareness to inadvertently paint yourself as the villain of your own story. The introduction sets us up for quite the tale. Onision alludes to a messy love triangle, baby drama, and being falsely accused. You think this would make for a crazy celebrity memoir, but instead of a behind-the-music special, we get a features film worth of Susie likes Johnny, but Johnny likes Millie, and Millie was too attached to me, but I like Susie. Was that boring? Well, buckle up, because that was the entire book. Every time we deviate from this excruciatingly detailed breakdown of the turbulent tales of middle school dating, it's just him telling on himself and reaching levels of condescension and jerk behavior that I didn't know were possible. And side note, I went into this about as blind as I could go. I knew Onision was a controversial YouTuber, but other than hearing him mentioned in passing on Kiwi Farms, I didn't know what the controversies were or why he was famous in the first place. Someone in Anthony Gramulia's server said Lily Orchard and Onision have a lot in common, so I looked up Onision's books, read just enough, saw he had an autobiography, and I decided, okay, I'm dropping everything. I won't Google anything else about this dude. Let me dive into this autobiography with the unique perspective of being an outsider. That's what I did for my first review of Lily Orchard's work, and all artists should strive for making their version of The Hangover 2. So today, I'm giving Onision's autobiography, in real life, the old BookTube Book Talk review. Sometimes I'll slip into calling him Greg, because that's how he refers to himself in the book, but Greg and Onision are the same person. But don't worry, this doughball having an online alias is about as complicated as things get. Big warning for spoilers, big warning for Onision's inappropriate comments about his teenage love life, big warning for fat shaming, big warning that I'm going to compare this to Stephen King's On Writing, which I know King doesn't deserve, and pitting these two books against each other in any context will cause a good deal of psychic damage to King's disciples. And I do want to apologize for that, but stick with me. I promise I have my reasons for dragging Stephen King into this. Before we really dive in, I could say with confidence that I hated this. 0 stars. I retroactively changed my score on a few of my 1-star reviews to 2 stars because it made me reconsider what is a bad book. Because this is hardly a book. It is train of thought nonsense. As with all of my reviews, I do want to try to acknowledge what was good or attempt to suss out who could enjoy this. But I don't think anyone enjoyed this. It has unanimous 1-star reviews on Goodreads. I've never seen anything like this. Unfortunately, since less than 100 people reviewed this, it doesn't qualify on Goodreads' worst of the worst list, but I see some of Onision's other books did make the cut. So if enough people read this clunker, it's got a shot. Some moments were terrifying and unsettling because they mirrored my life in an uncomfortably familiar way. Not the part about him being able to do 22 pull-ups. God, I wish that was me. No, there were plenty of oddly specific white trash moments that I also lived through. This dude's had a hard life, and he's lived to tell the tale. And as much as I want to empathize, he's just too much of an unlikable asshole. And he seems too stubborn and too stupid for me to cheer for a redemption arc. And I'm not even saying that's not possible. Hopefully, everyone is capable of turning it around and bettering ourselves. But step 1 for this knucklehead is rethink your entire personality. So the best I could say about this book is it felt like a wake-up slap to get it together, or at least be a little more diligent with my editing. That's the silver lining. That's why this video isn't going to be 8 hours long. As for guessing who would enjoy this, that's even rougher, because so much of this book is a detailed breakdown of who's dating who, and it was so boring. If you throw on an episode of Riverdale or Heartstoppers, I'll play ball and watch a few episodes with you. I'm not vehemently opposed to stories that come with a heaping serving of teenage dating drama. The thing is, this doesn't read like an exciting story with ups and downs of a crazy soap opera. This reads like an actual teenager's journal. Someone who, for the first time, is approaching these feelings. So it feels kind of gross, but then you remember this was written by a whole-ass adult, and you're like, wait, why? Why are you writing this like you're still in high school? Look, it's fine if you want to reminisce about your high school sweethearts. There's nothing wrong with that. But this didn't feel like an adult looking back fondly. It's such a clear-cut case of Arrested Development, so it felt downright inappropriate. So I think, big emphasis on the I think, because this is a guess. I think the only people who would enjoy this, someone who has a humiliation ink. I can imagine someone taunting Onion Boy with the threats of, I'll put your high school diary on the Amazon bookshop. Is that how Tom's talk? I don't know, man. I'm doing my best. Look, again, I know this isn't his high school diary. I'm just trying to conceive of a reality where someone, other than Onision, would want this published. And then someone would read this without the intent to snark. Humiliation makes the most sense, I think, maybe. Look, that's just me making shit up to try to make sense of this. Has he done humiliation content? Is this book a huge joke? Am I being played? Okay, so there's two main thoughts I had right away from reading the intro. One, does he wish he was Stephen King? And two, has this dude emotionally progressed past being a teenager? Surprisingly, I got the first one soft confirmed, and the second one definitively confirmed. Now, I said I wanted to go into this blind, but after I read the first paragraph, I asked Grok, has Onision ever mentioned Stephen King? I got a no, and like I said in the intro, I powered through the rest, no more research, no more distractions, just me and Onision, the tensing muscles that made the big old scowl on my face because I was straight up not having a good time. And I kept jotting down the note. You are not Stephen King. Your folksy anecdotes are not interesting. He loves using cutesy anecdotes and fantastical analogies to make his point, and every time I'm just internally screaming like, no, it's fine. I got your point. You don't need to craft this other world to demonstrate to the whole class how you're just so creative. Now, what I'm about to bring up is less about Stephen King emulation and more about the way he veers off topic to pointlessly explain things. And are you frustrated that I'm so rapidly changing gears after that big Stephen King tease? Well, this book is full of blue balls, and I promise I'll go into the biggest blues balls by the end of the video, but please allow me to veer off topic to give you a small taste of this frustrating reading experience. On page 1, he tells us, there are men out there who are utterly despised, famous actors, popular YouTubers, or other celebrity social influencers. I am none of those things right now. End quote. He riffs on this point for a paragraph before launching into this. Let's use Timmy Jones as an example. No, I do not need you to invent Timmy Jones. I could figure out where you were going with this. But here comes Timmy Jones playing the fictional game Mega Fighters United, adding another layer of pretend that didn't need to exist to begin with. And if that's not enough, a few pages later he starts talking about some of the crazier parts of his life before swerving into this analogy. He says, here is the logic, my friends. Let us say you are a car thief. And I say I will not take you to court for stealing my car if you pay me, we will say, 100x the value of that car. End quote. This book is stuffed with these useless little asides, and they legitimately made me angry because I'm confused. Why do you think I need these basic concepts dumbed down and explained to me? You must think I'm stupid, right? It was so irritating. So let's get back to Stephen King. Greg wants to regale us with these salt-of-the-earth moments and no-nonsense advice, and it's all wrapped up in this conversational tone. So I kept getting the feeling like this is the shittiest possible literary descendant of Stephen King's On Writing. See, the cool thing about On Writing is that it's not a dry how-to-write book. King uses anecdotes from his life as a way to frame his philosophy on writing. But you can't just tell us a string of anecdotes and think that you're so special that this makes for a good story. So when I saw Onision mention Stephen King explicitly as someone he was cognizant of in his childhood, I took that as good enough proof that this is someone he's attempting to hazily emulate. And I might be wrong, but look, this is a world devoid of fact-checking. My scampering to Grok is way more research than anything else here. Onision is so damn weird about his celebrity references. There's a lot of times where Greg says something to the extent of, she looks like this actress, and I'm like, I don't know who that is, but whatever, I don't care. This person you're describing is a child, and then he goes on to explain in the driest detail how they look. Like, pick one or the other, dude. Probably the funniest one when he says, her brother reminded me of a young Asian Keanu Reeves. And I'm like, bitch, Keanu Reeves is Asian. Are you fucking with me? Is this a joke? This is like, it is almost a joke. If someone said he looked like a white Howie Mandel, the joke is, wait, but he is white. Do you mean whiter? But no, I think Onion Boy just didn't do a basic fact check and he's content that his words are painting a vivid picture of this young Asian Keanu Reeves. And there's a lot of things he assumes you know, like Stranger Things and the canon of 80s movies, and in those cases, yeah, I am the asshole for refusing to participate in culture and feeling uninterested by Netflix. But there's other references that he will unnecessarily explain. He asks the reader if they know about Oregon Trail, Pogs, and Batman. He also has the need to clarify that his neighbors had a big screen TV, those old massive square ones, and it's like, no shit, this takes place in the 80s. Just because those went extinct doesn't mean I'm clueless. Hey, Greg, did you ever feel bewildered when you saw a phone with a rotary dial? No, you didn't, because everyone's seen Tom and Jerry, and you can piece this together with context clues. Or he specifies that he took the big yellow school bus home from school, and, well, gee, Greg, you don't need to tell me that you took the big yellow bus home. That's standard for most American schools. If you rode a horse or took the city bus home, yeah, that's different. I'd want to hear about that. What kind of crazy Hey Arnold life could somebody be living if they were zipping around the New York subway as a kid? And then the worst references are the ones he could have spent 30 seconds Googling before he started clanking away. Prime example, he says, This was the time frame when I believe I saw the sign, It Opened Up My Eyes, was a big hit song. Fuck off, man. Do not sing me the lyrics. When Stephen King couldn't remember something and he deliberately wanted you to know he was hazy on the details, he would use this to add personality to his prose. This is the first line of On Writing. In the early 90s, it might have been 1992, but it's hard to remember when you're having a good time, I joined a rock and roll band composed mostly of writers. End quote. And that is cool. That puts me in a very specific mindset, and it primes me to indulge in the craziness that can only come with its unique setting and premise. Meanwhile, when Onision can't remember something, it just screams laziness. I'm yelling because fuck you, you're thinking of the Kubler-Ross cycle. Fuck you, you're thinking of The Storyteller by David Grohl. Fuck you, the song you're thinking of is The Sign by Ace of Base, and the year was 1994. Oh yeah, that was my biggest spit take while I was reading, was when Onision casually drops that he was born in 1985. The entire first chapter I was thinking, wow, you sound incredibly stupid, immature, and like you haven't moved past high school. And I was thinking, at most, maybe, this dude could be 25, an incredibly sad 25-year-old. There's plenty of stories about how fame will warp the mind. It's something traumatic, and it locks you into the age when you first got famous. But this dude wrote this in 2022 at the age of 37. Like, how? How? You'd think just existing for that long would lead to getting some sense knocked into you. And let me bring back my second point I had while reading the intro. Has this dude emotionally progressed past being a teenager? Unlike the Stephen King influence, we could see the answer to this very directly in the text. And the answer is no. Onision has not emotionally progressed past being a teenager. And it's not even a matter of him still being hung up on high school. Because at the end of the book, Onision shares his journal entries from when he was 19, and the writing style is identical. Somehow, despite the opening line waxing poetic about him being a writer, he hasn't written enough to get over the monumental hurdle of sounding identical to how he did as a teenager. Let me read you that opening paragraph. For some time, I have wondered if I am a highly capable writer, or if I am a silly fool aspiring for the impossible. Cut to the fucking chase, dude. Let's chop this sentence in half. Am I a capable writer or a fool with an unreachable dream? There, half the words, and hits way harder. Through high school, I was deemed a superior writer. Here we go. By sentence 2, he's already mentioning high school, and he doesn't let it go the entire time. Without request, I was recommended to advanced placement solely in the field of English literature by my teacher. Oh, I'm glad you specified it without request, so we know you're the world's most specialist little student, who at the time prided himself on the fact he looked like the now-deceased Joseph Stalin. Oh, wait, was it pride, or was this a joke that he leaned into? Stalin isn't known for his striking good looks. Was your teacher styling his mustache to resemble Stalin, and did he have such a reputation for being a hard ass, so he's like, screw it, I'll lean into it, this is funny. If that was his mindset, maybe tell me, because that's actually funny. It humanizes your world. Why did he pride himself on this resemblance? I suppose he did. I mean, how could I not feel he looked like that once fierce man? My teacher had a picture on his wall next to his desk of Joseph Stalin. Big bushy mustache and all. Okay, so you could specify it's on the wall next to his desk. Thanks for giving me the room layout. But you can't tell me what kind of picture it was. Was it a crappy black and white printout? Was it a newspaper clipping? Did he find a Soviet-era relic at Goodwill and thought it was cool, so he hammered it to the wall? My teacher would stand to the side and say, "See, Gregory, I look just like him." And I have to say, he could have been the man's grandson for sure. Okay, I want to zoom in on how Onision ends this sentence. I have to say, he could have been the man's grandson for sure. It's one of those sentences that's a frustrating mix of being very confident while also hoisting up the bumper lane so he doesn't accidentally say something technically incorrect, therefore labeling him as a liar. That is so much of this book. He wants to be sure he's never lying. And he can't get caught in a lie if he pads up his sentences at every opportunity. Everyone uses filler words when we speak, but you're not talking, you're writing, and you sure as fuck are not Hunter S. Thompson, and your stream of conscious babbling is not interesting. You need a second draft. No more signing off your chapters with how you're so sleepy. No more punctuating your stories like you're ending a stand-up special. I don't want to know when you laughed or when you cracked open a juice box. And he gets real fucking cute when he does decide to prove to us that, actually, he does edit and proofread his chapters. Let me read you the opening page for the chapter, The Fourth Wall. Do you ever feel like you're burned out? Like you're worn super thin? Oh yeah, by the way, Onion Boy has plenty of unnecessary questions that give him a Valley Girl inflection. It's like your soul is just sputtering, pushing along with the only fumes from actual fuel that's now absent in your tank. Sometimes I get this way, and when I do, I just need to take a step back and go on a mental vacation. Let's say I've been writing this book for days, weeks, whatever, ... I just feel like I'm overtaken with responsibility or expectation. No, I don't want you to say, let's say. Just say it. You know how long you've been writing this book. Tell me with your words. I start to feel like I'm a puppet dancing on a string to an audience of eye rollers or apathetic rhinos. Scary creatures, by the way. Very underappreciated for their killing potential. Okay, but how are they scary if they're apathetic? Even if an animal is big and scary, if they're apathetic, I won't get freaked out. If my life's on the line, I'd rather fight an apathetic rhino than 20 angry geese. I know. I actually have amazing people reading this, ... I get comments from people in my life and I'm like, how did you know that? And they're like, I read your book. Or, I watch your videos. Shocks me every time. I'm always like, but I'm a loser. So, why? But I try to keep actually saying that to a minimum. Now, unlike other chapters, I'm not going to proofread this one. Edit. I proofread it. If there's a spelling error or something that doesn't make sense, I'll leave that for you, like an awesome little puzzle towards what I think might be the end of this book. Nope, I proofread it anyway. No puzzle for you. Hey, buddy, you missed a whole bunch of other spelling errors throughout this book. Take a lap, try again. This chapter is my day off. My time to let it go and just chill. Nope, I still proofread. Just didn't feel right not proofreading. To be real with you and not worry about the polishing or ironing. I did worry, so I proofread. Irony will be if I don't proofread this, and it winds up being better than the ones I do proofread. Huh. Yeah, and it won't be, because I proofread it anyway. I'm going nuts, man. This is the dumbest Socratic dialogue I have ever read. Ooh. But really, what I want this chapter to be about is this feeling in my chest right now. It's not a feeling of defeat, but then again, maybe it is. Why was defeat the first thing that came to mind when I wanted to talk about what it wasn't? Know when someone outs themselves for being a piece of trash? Like, before you even argue? Like, let's say your boyfriend comes home late and he says, "What?" Pauses. Left eye rolls to the back of his head and he continues, "What, Shauna? I wasn't fucking anyone!" People do that all the time. They say what they did as if they didn't do it before anyone even accuses them. It's like if I were to walk in a room and they say, "What?" Pauses. Left eye stays in place because I have genetically superior eyes. I wasn't out there doing exactly what you told me to like a good boy. Yes, I was. I was out there being a good boy. A good-ass boy. Big sigh, man. I've been listening to audiobooks a lot lately. It kind of makes me excited to make my own for this book, but I also worry it won't be good enough. Who cares, right? Just do your shit, sink or float. What does it matter? I want you to think of it all this way. Let's say you have a goal. Think about it. You got this feeling in your chest of all the things you want to do with your life. Maybe that's eat ice cream or chill and play video games. He goes on and on and on about how it's important to live your life to the fullest, doing what you want to do, because that's something very cool and enlightened he could share with us. He could see above all those horseshit phonies who aren't being true to themselves. It is ridiculous, because he lists eating ice cream as one of those live your life, who cares kind of things. But he has a lot to say about obesity, and this is unironically where he is strongest as a writer. Fat insults. Onision is a goddamn virtuoso when it comes to insulting fat women. He has a lot of creative, choice words for his overweight stepmom. This comes from the heart, because that judgmental little prick is a downright Karen when it comes to judging the fats. Let me read you an excerpt. Regardless, stepmom once took us to eat donuts and I thought it to be quite life-ruining. What I mean by this is she asked if we want custard in our donuts, but she said it in such a way you could hear the spit sloshing around her mouth as her neck jiggled. As a result, I never wanted to eat custard again. If she liked custard, I hated custard. I do something on a regular basis to this day. If I see a really fat person at a grocery store, checking out, I look at what they are buying, sometimes at a glance, sometimes a stare. Do you know what they're often getting? Diet Coke, Diet Pepsi, or the non-diet versions. I've learned most people who touch any form of Coke or Pepsi tend to blow up. Not all, but most. Man, where'd you get that killer observation? Donald Trump's Twitter? Additionally, they almost always have chicken and beef in their carts and or the conveyor belts. I'm glad you specified that one. Tubs of bread, sweets, little to no fruit or vegetables, and of course, bacon. Those fatties love bacon, and I take that to heart. Literally. Whatever they get, I often avoid. As a result, I'm nowhere near as fat as them. Quite healthy, actually. Just like the custard donuts with my stepmom. I know if I avoid those, I'll be a little less likely to wind up with her neck chin situation. Well, Onision, maybe you'd live a little if you ate the damn donut once in a while. I keep saying that Onision has Arrested Development, and that in itself isn't necessarily a bad thing. And maybe I'm completely wrong with these celebrity examples, since I haven't read their tell-all autobiography and only know them from the movies. But what comes to mind is either Christian Shaw or Jim Carrey. Both are adults that consistently bring a very playful, joyful, childlike energy. So if someone said that they have Arrested Development, it's like, hell yeah, they do. They're hilarious. Meanwhile, Onision feels very bitter and like he's been wronged. And if this dude was having any fun, him sounding like a kid wouldn't be as big of an issue. And just like a kid, he feels the world is against him and he should be absolved of any wrongdoing. Whenever he tells us stories of how he got in trouble, he always tries to frame it as if he was totally in the right. There's never any tagging it with, hey, I was being a real goofball back there. I deserve to get in trouble. No, Onision is never wrong. Here's one of the earlier examples. To add to the problematic nature of the apartments, one day, a neighborhood boy and I found a hammer next to what we felt was an abandoned car. Being little boys who just found a hammer, something to smash that seemed innocent, we ran around, bashing out the car's lights and windows. The car was such a piece of junk that had to be at least 15 years older than anything we had seen. After a while of destroying the car, a man came running out, hollering like his head was on fire. Hey, dumbass, you still shouldn't have done that. You're telling me, oh, that car was so old and busted, but guess what, genius? It's not your car. At no point did you think that you should maybe tag on a disclaimer like, wow, that was a real knucklehead move. I sure was a dipshit as a kid. Or later, he tells us this gem. At home, after getting in trouble for cutting a hole in my closet wall to increase my storage space, and for a number of other things I don't even recall, my mom seemed to want to get rid of me. To increase your storage space. No, I don't care if you needed more storage space. You're being a brat. And what is this? A number of other things I don't even recall. Oh yeah, like it's a real fucking mystery why your mom wanted to kick the little property damage gremlin to the curb. Now let me read you the absolute apex of Greg sharing his child crimes, and he frames it as a heroic feat. For context, a little before this incident, he just got a really cool girlfriend and they promised to hang out more. He says, yeah, life. It can be rough for a semi-problematic teenager like I was, especially when faced with a cliche bitch stepmother situation. The next weekend... Wait, he spelled weekend wrong. Oh, jeez. The next weekend, I had planned to have my girlfriend over again to continue making my heart explode with happiness to see my girlfriend, yet again, content/smiling blissfully after we made love. I made plans with her, she was happy to come again, and we both talked all week about how great it was to be together. Basically, the whole relationship was awesome, and everything felt perfect. Literally perfect. But guess what happened come that Friday? My stepmom decided to include a requirement that I go on a random, long trip to Tennessee. My idiot, inconsiderate, cackling turkey of a stepmom didn't ask me if I had any plans because, as you remember, I was family and not a guest, which I guess means you can treat others like their priorities are irrelevant. As I understood, they were in fact supposed to be leaving that weekend. Okay, I'm glad you figured it out, buddy. That one's spelled right. Hence, my girlfriend was being invited over again, but no one had said where they were going or that I was to go with. I had clearly understood that I was not going to go on any trip with them, just like the weekend prior, as it had been approved for me to not go with them by my dad. But the wife, she had other plans. So, after sadly letting my girlfriend know about the weekend plan wasn't happening, I hopped in the car and began blasting my Marilyn Manson, Rob Zombie, and Nine Inch Nails music on my headphones. And my stepmom was once again not driving. And before we even got in the car, as usual, she refused to open her own door because she is quite effortlessly a stupid, useless, potato-looking, swamp-dwelling quadra. There we were, driving down the long highway. My father was getting increasingly irritated by my music being blasted on my headphones. One song that came on, by Nine Inch Nails, screamed, "God is dead, and no one cares. If there is a hell, I'll see you there." A direct attack on my father's religion. I was listening to it so loud that everyone in the car had to listen to it. That's what you get when you force me to be away from the current love of my life. If you're going to go out of your way to prevent me from holding my other half, I at least get to listen to my favorite music on blast. As we drove through Kentucky, my father tried to say something to me, and I, in response, presented him with my middle finger. He shouted, "What is your problem?" loud enough for me to hear it over my current song. I took off my headphones, now blasting Dracula by Rob Zombie, and said, "My problem is your fucking bitch wife." My dad went silent. He took the next exit. He pulled over at a rundown gas station on a massive rundown cement lot. He unbuckled his seatbelt and violently threw his body between the two seats in front of me to establish a strong and unforgettable choking hold on my neck. End quote. And so, the fight escalates, and the next chapter starts with Onision in juvie. This was one of those moments from the start of the video that I said was uncomfortably relatable. Now, I don't want any accusations of stolen valor, so I will clarify that I have not been to juvie, but I have been institutionalized in psychiatric hospitals for long stretches of my youth. And as he's going on about how, although this is a very strict environment, just being away from home gave him this enormous sense of freedom and relief. And yeah, I felt that. Unfortunately, the next paragraph, he's dunking on some kid for being stupid, and a page later, he's calling another kid's mom fat. This was so sad because being institutionalized, for me, was one of the things that shook me out of a lot of my judgmental teenage mindset. I'm still working through a lot of this, and I'm still walking around with this chip on my shoulder and feeling like I am perpetually othered, and having the sense that I'm always going to be on the fringes when, like, I conceptually know that's not entirely true. I need to get over myself. But if you think I sound bitter about all that now, it used to be a lot worse. Like, imagine all of those hangups times 1,000, plus your standard, "I'm a goth, I'm a real goth, I'm not like those posers." Yeah, Baby Taper was real big on the goth scene and declaring war against the preppy overlords. I met in group therapy a guy with severe OCD. One day he was sharing with the group how he always needed to have his clothes match and look a certain way and be very clean and presentable. It didn't matter if he wasn't leaving the house that day. This was very important to him, and I felt so bad because this was clearly something he struggled with. But it was only in that moment, when he was sharing his zetsubo over making sure his clothes were a certain way, that I realized, wait a second, you're a prep. And it was like a switch went off and I registered his outfits and mannerisms as quote unquote preppy. But this didn't ruin my interactions with him. I was just kind of shocked at myself that I didn't process someone in the usual high school clique kind of way, someone who I probably would have dismissed if we did meet in high school. Now, I'm bringing up preppy guy because he was nice to me and sat with me at lunch, but an even bigger impact was meeting the few teen moms in group therapy. If I had never heard their side of the story, the struggles they went through, I would have dismissed them as S-words. I don't like admitting that, but it's true. Exposure is the best way to fight bigotry, and I'm very privileged that my time being institutionalized was an overall positive experience that introduced me to a lot of different people who had it a lot worse than me, and I'm lucky I got to know them all very well and open up with them. I don't know how to say this without sounding like a condescending douche, like, "Oh wow, you're such an inspiration," but like, it's true. When I was let out of the psych ward, I watched Juno out of solidarity with the teen moms. I hope they could feel my male feminist energy uplifting their spirits, even if I have no way of contacting them now. But there was one girl who did give me her info. Goth girl. I think was given flirty vibes, and she confirmed it on my last day. She slid me her DeviantArt handle. See, we weren't allowed to share our phone numbers or add each other on social media, but DeviantArt technically isn't social media, or at least it's not big like Facebook or Twitter, so it came with that plausible deniability, or maybe she just wanted to give me any way of contacting her. I don't know. The goth girl did this in a very smooth way. She took my sketchbook, asked if I had a DeviantArt, and she signed her username as she was asking. I should have made one sooner and tried to set something up, but by the time I got the nerve to join, she was already spoken for and I was living in another time zone. So that sucks, but that's life. Next time I'm back in town, I should hop on Facebook and see if Prep Guy is up for reconnecting. They can't slam us for no social media contact now. Be nice to get a lunch with the guy that isn't served on a tray. Actually, wait, now that I say that, wonder if he was into me too. Did I fumble the male and female romance path on this side quest? Fuck. Okay, so why am I telling you this now? Because I wanted to show what a bare minimum story about reminiscing about your high school love life looks like. There's ups and there's downs. I'm telling it to you with a little goddamn perspective and a lot of luxury of hindsight. Anything less isn't worth sharing. Onision's terrible writing emboldened me to share something very personal. So thanks, Onision. Thanks for making me open up about my shitty life. And by the way, I haven't thought of these people in years. I don't like to think of my childhood. I can barely remember last week, and as soon as I get turned down or break up, that person is zapped out of my mind. I had to meditate under a fucking waterfall to conjure up that old memory of the psych ward. But Onision is able to effortlessly prattle off an endless list of girlfriends and crushes like they happened yesterday. And guess what? He also has a story about ambiguous sexuality too, and it's as frustrating as you'd expect. Let me read you the passage. Regardless, my goth girlfriend at the time had a gay friend, yes, the twin brother. He went through a very embarrassing transition into being gay. I think it was partially my fault. One of the times I was likely single/apart from my goth girlfriend, he handed me a note right before I got on the bus one day. I read it, and it was him confessing his love for me. It felt kind of crappy because I had recently dated his friend. What, his sister? Okay, whatever. But I guess he had been holding on to his feelings for some time, and it bottled up till it erupted onto the unfolded note. He and I hung out after school one day and he confessed his love for me. We decided to go to a grocery store near the apartments he lived in. I had reacted to his not in a very good way for the time period. Wait, I had reacted to his? Is that supposed to be him? Whatever. I thought, oh, he's gay. I feel sad because I'm straight and I have to let him down, maybe hurt his feelings with rejection. In that grocery store, I did in fact let him down. I told him I'm straight, but if he wanted to kiss me there in that store, he was welcome to. As you likely know very well, I'm pretty open/supportive of gay people and show serious gay tendencies myself. Ooh, that's a terrible pitch for your OnlyFans. Ooh. The guy reacted in a way that was not expected. Standing there in his goth clothing, about 4 inches shorter than me, painfully pale skin, he looked around nervously and then back at me. After some thought, he said, no, never mind. After I told this goth guy, who said he was in love with me, that I was straight, but he could still kiss me in front of everyone, he realized in that moment he was ashamed of being gay and didn't want others to see him being gay. What other reason could there be? Well, I don't know. Maybe because you turned him down and you're in a grocery store, Greg. He already expressed his love for me, and what came later made that conclusion even more clear. I personally, as usual, didn't care what people thought of me, gay or straight. Wonder if there's anything else. I figured, if this gay guy wants to kiss me, he could do that. It makes little difference to me and makes him very happy based on what his letter said. So why not get a little of that out of his system? Wow, Greg, you are so logical. Wow. Yeah, why didn't he kiss you in the grocery store after getting turned down? That's a real stumper. After weeks of eternally battling with himself, to my disbelief, the goth boy did what is one of the most atrocious acts known to all goths around the world. He turned prep. Okay, yeah, gotta agree with you there, Onision. That would be pretty tragic. Not only did this guy turn into a prep, we're talking dyeing his hair black to blonde, wearing tan pants and baby blue shirts, but he also converted to Christianity. What, in the late 90s, did Christianity push really hard? Not being gay. I can't help but think the person who fried this dude's brain was me. Accidentally, but still. You're gonna fry my brain if you keep talking, dude. Just what is this dude's kill code? There's the psychic damage he's constantly emulating. Is he just like ping-ponging around life as the world's dumbest man and just making everyone around him miserable and uncomfortable? So this is another thing I want to bring up. Onision keeps saying how he's so honest. He says, see, that's something that helps prevent school pew-pews, having a girlfriend. I know, some will take what I'm saying as super messed up, but welcome to reality. The world isn't one you make up in your crazy head. The world is what it is, regardless of the one that exists in your mind. Accept it. Yeah, Onision, I know you think you're being honest and you're so above it all, but why do you think you're so damn qualified to cut through the bullshit? You sound like a petty, close-minded, judgmental person. Even if you're right, why would I want to listen to you? And he keeps bringing up the Joker and saying, we live in a society. And I'm like, dog, say psych right now, please, for the love of God. Somebody say psych. I'm begging you to say psych. Is this a parody? Did we find patient zero for all of these shitty Joker memes? But as I'm enduring this excruciating play-by-play of Greg's childhood, I'm thinking, surely, at some point, this scrappy little incel is gonna grow up and get YouTube famous and get into all sorts of saucy drama and get hit with a bunch of scandals, right? Well, this is the blue balls I mentioned earlier, because here's how the last chapter of the book starts. Hello again. Sorry, I switched between like the sad bear voice and a snooty voice. Hopefully it's not too confusing. It's all one guy. Onision and Greg are the same person. Hello again. I want to wrap this book up because I've somehow lost interest in sharing my life with the world, ... which may sound really stupid, but ... we are all stupid sometimes. And who knows, ... maybe I'm actually being smart. Maybe I only think I'm being stupid, ... or maybe I'm being fake humble, and in reality, I actually know this is the right thing. For me, sharing less. How can I be fake humble while saying I'm being fake humble, though? Sounds real as fuck to me. No, you are not being real as fuck. I endured 200 pages of your bullshit thinking it eventually goes somewhere. Eventually, we get hit with a dramatic YouTuber life. But no, you literally just give up on your book at age 19 and say, meh, I don't feel like it. Then why? Why did you make me sit through all of that? If you weren't going to tell me anything I wanted to hear, why did you fucking tease that in the intro? I thought this was going to lead to the wildest celebrity memoir, but no, you just give up before the celebrity part even starts. I have never been this angry at a book. I've been bored by books. I have been offended by books. Onision was able to conjure a hatred in my heart that I didn't know was possible. So since Onion Boy can't stop jerking himself, which good thing he's pivoted to OnlyFans, he ends the book with 10 life lessons. So let's go through those and I'll give you my take. Lesson 1, don't trust anyone. Strong disagree. Next. And with that in mind, I want to share the quote that best sums up this book. Winning to me isn't having money. It isn't having power. It's love. Nothing matters more. Onision is saying this because he knows he is supposed to say it. He thinks that this opinion makes him better than those greedy phonies who value money or power. The thing is, I've only seen him demonstrate a selfish love for himself. There's no compassion or empathy. It's all a matter of what he can get from others. And in this book, it's mostly about the companionship he can get from whatever girlfriend at the time. It's never about him putting her needs first, although he says you should do that, but this isn't something he's interested in acting on. The closest he comes to this is when one of his girlfriends has a pregnancy scare. Fortunately, she eventually gets her period again, so Onision's teen dad arc was cut short. And he valiantly says he's ready to step up and be a dad, and he's telling us that being a father is so important. And sure, that mindset, that is leagues better than just disappearing in a cartoon smoke cloud when your girl has a pregnancy scare. The thing is, this anecdote isn't about him caring for his girlfriend during this time. He makes no attempt to share how she felt. It's all, look at me, I'm a good guy, I'm gonna be a good dad. And it's like, okay, douchebag, at least wait till your kids buy you the #1 dad novelty mug before you start your bragging. Everything's about him and how he feels, which is why I could say, with absolute confidence, Onision, you are the asshole.